welcome back to your most amazing top 10. I'm Rebecca Felgate, or am I? Today we're talking about the top 10 scariest trick or treat stories. But before we get into this video, I want to remind you guys that we have a Patreon. And if you guys want to support us there, we've got loads of things to offer you in return, including behind the scenes footage, where you'll quickly see that this mask is pretty much an accurate representation of what Danny looks like without makeup. Just joking, Danny, you know you're a natural beauty. Unlike me emerging from the sweatfest of a mask. Whew, bye! Okay, so let's get into this list. It ranges from scary to outright awful, so don't say I didn't warn you. Coming in at number 10, we have a Halloween flasher. Nothing says scary like your neighborhood pervert. I guess this is a big worry when parents let their kids knock on doors alone. In 2013, John Valls of Deltona was arrested after several reports of him flashing young children. He would answer the door to trick-or-treaters wearing a loosely tied robe that exposed his genitals. What a weirdo. He isn't the only creep to have flashed kids either. The same thing has happened in many countries, including England, where in Lancashire a man answered his door fully nude to children on Halloween. Ew. Nude creeps are actually scarier than any Halloween costume. Coming in at number 9, we have candy thieves. Kids already get free sweets on Halloween, so those that turn to petty robbery are just outright greedy. In 2011, 5 teenagers from Dale City in Virginia, aged between 15 and 19, terrorized trick-or-treaters, demanding that they give them their candy. When the treaters refused, they then threatened them with a gun, which they didn't use, but they did attack them. Luckily, the teenagers were later arrested. Coming in at number 8, we have a Snickers Stabber. In the year 2000, a man named James Joseph Smith snuck needles into Snickers bars that he handed out on Halloween, one of which stabbed a teenager in the mouth, although luckily it wasn't serious. Nonetheless, as several children had been given the needle-laced Snickers bars, the police investigated and charged Smith with adulterating a substance with intent to cause death, harm, or illness. Unfortunately, he isn't the only candy stabber. On Halloween of 2016, a nail was found stuck in a Snickers in Coldwater, Michigan. I guess, like, how much can you really trust stuff that comes from strangers? Coming in at number 7, we have a girl shot because she was mistaken for a skunk. Like, how does this happen? An 8-year-old girl was enjoying a Halloween party in some fun trick-or-treat times when she was shot by a relative who mistook her for a skunk. Unsurprisingly, this happened in the USA, and the girl was flown 30 miles away from her home to a hospital in Pittsburgh, where she eventually recovered. She'd been dressed in a black and white Halloween costume and was shot by her cousin, who basically thought that she was a small mammal. I have no idea though, because 8-year-olds are significantly bigger than skunks. What kind of skunks is he seeing out there? She was in a very serious condition, but luckily she didn't die, so be careful when you're shooting skunks, or maybe just don't shoot skunks. Coming in at number 6, we have the East Coast Rapist. In 2009, 3 teenage girls were out trick-or-treating in Woodbridge, Virginia, when they unknowingly came across the East Coast Rapist. Aaron Thompson spotted the girls out walking with a bag of candy in the rain. He used a fake gun to force the girls behind a shop and then ordered them to lay down in a line, while he took them one by one in the woods to rape them. One of the girls managed to text her mum to say that a man was raping her friend in the woods and that she should call the police. Luckily, the police came, but Thomas got away. He was caught 2 years later and linked to at least 13 other rapes. He was gladly sentenced to 6 life sentences plus 80 years. To be fair, like, I'm really happy that he's behind bars, because what a sicko. Coming in at number 5, another sicko, we have the Candyman. For those of you that watched our video about Halloween deaths, you will have already heard of this man. The Candyman was the name given to killer dad Ronald O'Brien, who gave cyanide-laced pixie sticks to his children and 3 other kids in the neighborhood. This was all out while they were trick-or-treating on Halloween in the 1970s. Sadly, his son died of cyanide poisoning, however the other kids managed to avoid the candy. The reason he poisoned the candy? It seems it was to claim life insurance of his children to cover his debts. He was killed by lethal injection in 1984. Unfortunately, the victim at number 4 did not pull through. We have the sad murder of a 12-year-old boy. In Halloween of 2008, a 12-year-old boy suffered from a fatal shot to the head. He and his family were gunned down with 30 rounds of an assault rifle as they knocked on Quentin Patrick's door in Sumter, South Carolina. The family were out trick-or-treating, but the paranoid ex-convict thought they were trying to rob or shoot him. 12-year-old TJ Darasaw was with his 9-year-old brother and his dad, who were also injured. His mother and toddler younger brother were not harmed, armed as they stayed in a car nearby. County Councilman Charles Eden said, "It's gonna put a dampener on Halloween," and you think? Another kid shot for no reason on Halloween, we have the murder of Tony Bagley at number 3. 7-year-old Tony Bagley was dressed as a skeleton as he went out trick-or-treating with his family in 1994. Sadly, as he walked excitedly ahead of his family, a man wearing a hood ran into the street, opened fire, and then got away in a waiting car. Tony's sister required surgery following the attack, and his aunt was shot in the leg and his mother in the chest. All of their females survived, but Tony died later in hospital. The killer was never found and the case is unsolved, which means that this Halloween murderer is still out there. Coming in at number 2, we have another trick-or-treat murder. In 1957, Peter and Betty Fabiano were about to go to bed on Halloween night when the doorbell rang. Despite thinking it was a little late for treaters, Peter opened the door with a bowl of candy and was met with a masked woman and a paper bag. Betty heard a shot and a screech of tires and found her husband dying in a pool of blood. He died on the way to hospital and Betty had no idea how to explain the crime other than trick-or-treaters showed up and shot her husband. Eventually it turned out a jealous friend by the name of Joan Rabble had convinced her lover Goldine Pizer to shoot Betty's husband. Pizer and Rabble called Peter evil and vile. After Pizer had killed Fabiano, Rabble hoped that she would win the affections of Betty, telling Pizer to forget her, which is how the whole scheme became unraveled. Coming in at number 1, we have the Halloween killer and rapist. 9-year-old Lisa French was dressed as a hobo when she was out trick-or-treating with her parents on Halloween night of 1973. She knocked on her neighbor Gerald Turner's door and he invited her in. In his sick confession, he recalls the look of fear in her eyes as he shut the door behind her. Lisa French never returned home and her parents raised the alarm. Sadly, she was later found dead on a nearby farmland. Eventually, Turner admitted to raping and strangling the young girl and received a 38-year prison sentence. At the time of the murder, he was already accused of molesting another young girl. One glimmer of light to come from this horrible proceedings were that law changes were made to keep sexual predators in jail until they were deemed safe to society. Wow, so guys, that was a really sad list. Stay safe while trick-or-treating this year and make sure you have an adult with you or maybe just some pepper spray. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'm Rebecca Felgate. If you like our Halloween content, make sure you give it a good thumbs up and share it with a friend. And also don't forget to check out our Patreon in the description box below. Thank you guys for watching to the end. Why not check out our top 10 most inappropriate Halloween costumes and our top 10 most evil people to have ever lived. See you next time.